Good afternoon. I am William Hunt, Director of the Department of Land Use and Growth Management. Today is March 23rd, 2022. This hearing is being held in the Chesapeake Building, 41770 Baldridge Street, Leonardtown, Maryland. It is 1 p.m. The Planning Director has been delegated the authority to hear administrative variances pursuant to Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance Section 22.5, Administrative Variances. The case today seeks a variance to the minimum setback standards of Schedule 32.1 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. The property is identified as Tax Map 61, Grid 14, Parcel 248, Lot 31 in the 2nd Election District. The address is 18310 River Road, Tall Timbers, Maryland. The zoning is Rural Preservation District. The owners are Lana Melvin and Glenn Melvin. The request today is to construct an addition of a 12-foot by 28-foot, 366 square foot addition to an existing house. This addition will extend into the minimum 15-foot side yard setback. The house was constructed in 1967 prior to the adoption of the current zoning and subdivision regulations. The applicant's justification and the staff report for the case are in board docs. This is a public hearing. The property and variance requests were advertised in the Southern Maryland News on March 4th, 2022 and March 11th, 2022. The agenda was posted on the county website on March 16th, 2022. Nearby property owners have been notified. Any member of the public can comment on the case. Participating today are Neil Murphy, Deputy County Attorney, Courtney Jenkins, Senior Planner, Amber Thompson, Planning Manager. Sherry Young is in the Savage Conference Room to answer any phone calls that may come in with people wanting to comment on the case. Amy Carter is running the audio and visual. These hearings are televised. The process today will be that there will be a staff report which will be presented through a PowerPoint presentation that Ms. Jenkins will advance as needed as we go through it. After that, the applicant, or in addition to that, the applicant will be asked to present the case. Again, that will be primarily through PowerPoint, and also how the standards necessary for the variance will be addressed. Anyone speaking on the case is required to take an oath to tell the truth. After we're done with that presentation, I will ask questions if there's anybody who called in to participate or who comes in to see the proceedings. And then after that, if there are none, I will ask the applicant if they have anything further to say. If not, then I will make the decision. I will use some of the materials presented today to support my decision, as well as the testimony of the applicants today as well. Approval of a variance is not approval of a site plan, a building permit, a planting plan, approval from any other agency, or any other approval. So with that, as I get ready for the PowerPoint, if I could ask you to please stand, and Courtney and Amber as well, in case there might be some questions for you. And for the oath, do you solemnly state under penalty of perjury that the evidence you provide in this case will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay. This is case number 210318, the Melvin property. It's a variance from Schedule 32.1 for a reduction of the mandatory side yard setback to construct an addition to an existing house. Next. The legal ad, as I said, has been published and the property was posted. Neighbors within 200 feet were notified of this case today. Next. The property information, they're the owners, the address. Rural preservation is the land use, the zoning is Rural Preservation District. According to SDAT, the property itself is 12,500 square feet, but there is a quitclaim deed that we'll get into for part of the platted right-of-way a little later on that makes the property somewhat larger. It is a single-family dwelling and has a detached garage and carport. Next. Here you see the location map. Next. And here it is with the lot lines designated. Next one. And here's the aerial view. On that, you can see the property itself, and then you see the double yellow lines underneath it, which indicates the right-of-way that was platted with the subdivision back in the 1920s, I believe. Next one. And here's the site plan. And on this, Mr. Melvin, this is when we get into, this shows the 12.5-foot portion of that right-of-way. If you could explain how that came into your possession, that would be beneficial.
Sure. Those easements, right-of-ways, were held by the original developer up to, I want to say, around 2006, and then he offered them all to adjoining property owners in this subdivision. There was a number of them that were offered, and people generally bought those pieces of property. They were 25-foot, most of them were 25-foot easements, 25-foot wide, and they were split in half. So that's where we purchased the 12.5-foot by 200-foot property that's shown on this site plan, and that's the deed that you were just looking at, the attorney.
That'll be part of a copy of that will be part of the record to,
Yes.
to verify that you do have that through a quitclaim deed.
Yes.
And then the next one, Ms. Jenkins, if you could explain what this view shows, please.
Sure. This is shows the 15-foot setback from our property line, which is the center of that easement that was actually sold, and we're encroaching into that 15-foot by approximately 2.5 feet to get a footprint that is usable for what we want to do with this addition.
Thank you. Next one. And then just run through these photographs.
Sure, yeah, this is just the back looking out towards the river, and I put this in there so people could see where this addition is going to be. It's going to be on this end of our house. It'll encompass the block portion of most of the block portion of the front of the house towards the water, and come back to just this side of the closest window that you see on the back side. And that's to give a perspective of where this addition is going to lie. And I wanted to kind of show this because this is going to be an addition of an all-season porch that we can sit and watch. We've got bird feeders in those trees out that you see there, and that's our purpose, is to have a place to do that and eat crabs too. But and then we need a little bit of a sewing room that's going to go on the back side of that, but that's basically the spot. Okay.
Then if you're done with that one, we'll show the next one.
Yeah, and this is just a one-line sketch that I put on there to give a perspective of what this addition will, the limits of this addition, how it will sit against the building. It's set back from the front, so those are accurate roof lines of what this addition will look like. And the large windows are signifying that's our porch.
Next one.
Next slide, please.
There you go.
Same with this. This is a front view, looking at the house and how that addition should sit. And they're not exactly to scale, but that's a very close approximation of what that would look like once it's in place. Next slide. And then this is pretty much a more accurate drawing, one-line drawing of the way that addition will sit on the side of that house. Next. This one I put together the drainage patterns because that was something that is always an issue, is drainage on these flat places. But these are existing drainages that work well, and they actually all the ditches are kept in good order. The county does a great job of keeping everything. We don't have a problem with drainage on this site. Next slide. And then I did some, just a preliminary working drawings of what this addition would look like and how we have it laid out with a couple of views, front, back, and side view, and then a floor layout. This was done preliminary to kind of get us a perspective of what we wanted to do, and this is what we want to end up with. And this is a 12 by 28. And next slide. There again, was the original site plan that I submitted to the county that shows the proposed addition, and it also shows areas of impervious that we're going to do away with because we're basically adding some impervious and then taking impervious out. And we're taking out impervious more towards the river. So, and looking at this whole layout, this was the one that made the most sense for us, and we're taking a driveway out basically because we do have some driveway capabilities in the rear of the house. And then just to add, there is on the would be south side of the property, it's wooded, and that was shown in your aerial that you had in the PowerPoint. We can go to the next slide. Okay, this is where I wanted to go through and kind of brush up my responses, being that I was responding to the critical area questions. But this particular one, the differences between the standard granting
Excuse me,
variance.
let me just try to clarify in
Okay,
case
sure.
people are watching this. In the purple at the top are the standards for the general variance, which is actually the category of the request. But unfortunately, it wasn't made clear to the applicants at the time of their application that that was the standards they needed to follow. Instead, because this is in the critical area variance standards were what were told to them that needed to be addressed. So at the last minute, this confusion was realized, and we tried to work with the Melvins to get this straightened out so that they can testify to the right standard. That would be the purple standards for today's hearing, and that's what's going to take place at this point. And then the testimony will be written up to explain how they meet the standards, so that the decision, if they do meet the standards, can be made today that will grant them the variance. Okay, sorry for that.
Oh, thanks for that clarification, because I was wondering how I was going to be able to go through this. And I'm going to basically read the questions or the standards and then go into what I might need to readjust or say, and I'm hopefully that I can respond verbally and it will be taken as a transcript.
Indeed. In fact, the way the St. Mary's County conducts all public hearings, this one, Board of Appeals, Planning Commission, Commissioners of St. Mary's County, the fact that everything is recorded, broadcast, archived in YouTube off the county's channel, it stays as the minutes of the meeting. So traditionally, those were transcribes in the old days, where you would have a court stenographer write down everything. Now we don't need to do that. Instead, the video are the minutes, or is the minutes, depending upon singular. So what you say, I can go back with and write down more explicitly if need be. But if anybody were to question what I had written, they would be able to see the video and verify that what I write down is actually in line with what you say.
Okay. I'm going to attempt to do this, and I may, after I leave, think of something that I should have said, but I think at this point, I can just go through the questions, and I'll do that. Because the particular physical surroundings, such as exceptional narrowness, shallowness, size, shape, or topographical conditions of the property involved, strict enforcement of this ordinance will result in practical difficulty. And my response is that, yes, the typical or the particular physical characteristics of the narrowness of this lot, this original lot 50 feet wide, which is what most all of those lots were laid out, is extremely limiting into what kind of footprint you can utilize. And in particular on the river side, all those houses are pretty much tucked close together, whereas ours, there was a bit of a buffer, enough for us to utilize to do this. So strict enforcement of the ordinance would result in practical difficulty, in that I can't get the size of the 12-foot size of the footprint, which is really about the minimum that we could utilize in this particular project. Oops, I got to shoot.
Yeah. I've actually might have to stop this.
He's got a nosebleed.
Amy, can we take a recess?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that recess. Do you have anything else that you would like to add to the standard number 1?
I don't think so. I think I covered,
Very good. All right, so we'll go to number 2.
the conditions creating the difficulty are not applicable generally to other properties within the same zoning classification. That's one where I don't know whether that means zoning classification countywide.
It should be,
Okay,
but
'cause
if you want to describe just as it,
I think the lot size in tall timbers is very restrictive, and it was set up that way. They wanted to get as many properties in there, I believe, as they could. And as far as the same zoning classifications for newer lots, I would assume that they, since the zoning ordinance has been in effect with 15-foot setbacks, they're always adhered to with newer construction. It's just this particular one is more difficult to try to fit in a suitable size footprint on that property. Conditions creating difficulty are not applicable generally to other properties within the same.
when St. Mary's County adopted zoning and then followed up with or included required setbacks for different zoning districts that were adopted, anything that was platted after that would have to be large enough to meet the standards that were in
Right.
place at the time. This
Yeah.
was platted before
For
the
that.
standards were there, therefore they're very small lots, but they didn't have setbacks. They weren't adopted in the zoning code in the 20s, or if they were not they're not the 15 feet that they are today.
Right, and that was my thoughts. I just didn't know how to bring that across, but I appreciate that. That's the issue is we don't have the 15-foot setback. No, probably none of the properties in that area do, and all of the lots that are not built on are not going to be built on because of the requirements for sewer. And I say here, other property owners in this subdivision have similar encroachments to side yard setbacks, to the current side yard setbacks. The properties are built right up against the property line on a lot of those places. Ours is not, except on the adjoining side, on the north side, we're built very close to the neighbor's house. I think that's all I have there. Okay, the purpose of the variance is not based exclusively upon reason of convenience, profit, or caprice. It is understood that any development necessarily increases property value, and that alone shall not constitute an exclusive finding. And we're not building this to increase the property values. And it's not based upon reason of convenience, profit, or caprice. I don't understand what caprice is, what that is. What's that mean?
On a whim. On a whim.
On a whim? No. No, we're building this for a specific reason. That's why we're applying for this variance, is to build for this specific reason. And that's all. The alleged difficulty has not been created by the property owner or the owner's predecessors in title. It has not been created by us as the property owners, and I'd say not by the predecessors, because they were under the previous non-zoning issues, that they didn't have to meet setbacks. So it's not based upon that are any of the actions by the applicant, which is us. Okay. The granting, excuse me, the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the neighborhood, and character of the district will not be changed by the variance. And I would say we definitely will not be doing anything detrimental to public welfare or injurious to other property owners. We're not affecting any property owners, adjoining property owners. We're basically asking for an encroachment into our own property, and then and the character of the district will not be changed by this variance. It's we're, if anything, improving the aesthetics of the property, the building, and the area. Okay? The proposed variance will not substantially increase the congestion of the public streets or increase the danger of fire or endanger the public safety or substantially diminish or impair property values. We will not be increasing any congestion because we're not changing any usage. We're not adding any driveways that would front public streets. The danger of fire is not increased at all because there's a buffer around this. This easement is actually a non-wooded easement. It's maintained. We keep a buffer there, so I can't see as that being a problem or endanger the public safety. It's not a public safety issue because we're not dealing with any public traffic on this lot, or substantially diminished or impaired property values within the neighborhood. No, if anything, it will increase or may have the effect of increased property values just by increasing the value of one building, one lot. And that's all on that one. Okay, to this one. The variance complies as nearly as possible with the spirit, intent, and purpose of the comprehensive plan. And then the property has already been developed for residential use. Chapter 3, a growth management strategy of the comprehensive plan established a vision for community design, which includes encouraging owners of existing structures to maintain and retrofit buildings and grounds so they become attractive and energy efficient. And that is what we are doing, is increasing the retrofitting the buildings and grounds so that they become attractive. And what we're doing is I feel will be an improvement and an attractive for this piece of property.
Okay, that's
I think that's it.
the end of that. So, Ms. Jenkins, will you check to see if we have any Any people who have called in who want to speak on this hearing?
Administrative hearing.
Ms. Young, do we have anyone on the line who wishes to speak regarding Melvin VAAP 21-0318?
There are no callers for this case at this time.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nope.
Okay, so we'll close public testimony after opening it for that phone call. No one's called in about this. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'm sure when I leave, I'll probably think of some things, but no, not at this point.
Okay, well, that's fine then. I'm granting your variance to reduce the side yard setback based on your addressing the standards that you've done today through your testimony, as well as the written materials that you've presented to apply for this variance. So in the matter of VAAP number 21-0318, Melvin Property, having made a finding that the standards for granting a variance and the objectives of sections 24.3 and Schedule 32.1 of the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance have been met, I approve the variance request for a reduction of the mandatory side yard setback to construct an addition to the existing house. So I'll type this decision up and give it to you. I believe anybody who they haven't spoken today, the decision is not effective for 30 days after it's written in case someone wants to appeal it. Anything that you would do before that appeal period runs out is at your own risk.
Right.
But that's all we have today. So with that, we'll conclude this hearing. Thank you very much for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you.